Cheers, my love. Oh, been waiting for this.
Mm. Mm.
Oh no, what? It is. Man, that nose thing, did you pass that to me? How dare you?
Allergies.
Is that what it is? I'm sure.
That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah. I've been working on it with good old thieves. You guys know about thieves? But all right. Well, we just raced in here, finished up our
Don't mind our sniffles.
Yeah. uh, just finished up one of our mentorships with a amazing power couple. Love connecting with them. But anyways, so here we are. And what a weekend. What a day. Like there's a lot today. There's a lot going on. And I was telling
Who were you telling?
about my dream.
Oh, yeah.
Last night. I was talking to the guys about it. So I guess we could talk about our day and the breakthroughs with people and community. It was good. It was really cool. I think there was some really good breakthrough for me, just that whole recognition of the verse for the ox and in my drawing. Oh, I gotta show my drawing. My chicken scratch that I drew for you. So Chantel.
Yeah, I almost had you take a picture of it to send me because I actually shared it on one of my calls too.
Oh wow.
Oh
My goodness. I'm honored.
You are. You should feel
Really?
honored.
My chicken scratch. That is chicken scratch. For sure.
We had an impromptu, which normally doesn't happen. Normally on Mondays he brings me my lunch, but we had lunch together.
Yeah,
It was
that
awesome.
doesn't usually happen, so that was cool. So
Mhm.
during lunch, I was like,
He goes,
are you in his face?
He goes, do you have the capacity for me to share something with you? Like, that's kind of a loaded question.
So
At
maybe.
lunch.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah,
That was good.
it was good.
Because I had a dream last night. You guys have dreams? You guys have visions? I have conversations. Strange, right? But no, I did. I was like, whenever I just go to bed like asking questions, then I just keep asking the question like when I'm going to sleep. I went to sleep asking Chantel questions and then she fell asleep and then I was like,
I fell asleep last night. You were asking questions?
no, I was
What was the
done.
other night?
We were done. You were coughing last night. She's been pacing this nose drainage stuff, coughing. Yeah, a lot. But I mean, that was asking questions in the sense of when we were going to sleep, a lot of questions about because she is, the reality is what we have is pretty cool, pretty special, and I trust her. I trust her more than I trust myself. Men, if you're wise, you'll learn to do that because they see what we cannot see. And that's what I was asking questions, just like, what am I not seeing? So then she didn't really have an answer. She listened, but she's like, I don't know that I have an answer. And it was cool because that was perfect because I was going to sleep. Then that question just went in my mind. You can call it what you want, but the reality is I had that question. I just started asking Papa and went to sleep asking him, like, Papa, what am I missing? What needs to change in me? Or what am I not seeing here? And it had to do with we call the four faces of God because that's what it talks about in Ezekiel and Revelation. However, when it comes to personalities, we're breaking it down to three, right? Because everyone has their own peculiar, if you would, right? We all have our own DNA. Going back to this, we talk about the lion. That's why they're behind us. The eagle's behind her and up a little bit. And that's perfect. It's over her head. Because that's what we were talking about too, is recognizing that the eagle is a representation of femininity. So potentially when you're born with this extra sense of, as a female, born with an extra intuition, extra sensitivity. Yeah, oh yeah, you talked about this. So let's hear your version. What do you think?
Just keep going.
Okay. I am willing to listen to, because I would love to hear her perspective. And then, of course, the line that's over my head, appropriately, I would say that men are born as lions, and lion is very well known, or very known as testosterone, right? Where the eagle is spiritual representation and estrogen. So it's really fascinating to think potentially that men are born as lions, women are born as eagles. And then the fascinating thing about the ox, as you study the ox, is you begin to find out that the ox is a discipline. It's not even an animal. It's represented by the bovine and the bull, but it's a trained thing. The word ox is oxen, which is usually multiple, being yoked. So that kind of fits. Then we work with a lot of Anabaptists, which are previously Amish or previously Mennonite. So we work with a lot of previously Anabaptists, I guess we could say it that way. And they are definitely have been trained and been developed as oxes. I mean, that's their thing. Matter of fact, big community, big portion of the Amish live like up in the Indiana area. And interesting enough, that's where like it is the largest assembly line for RV manufacturing in the world. And it's Amish that do it. So Amish Mennonite in that area. So it's really crazy to think that. So then it's kind of like, yeah, I know Jesse. A lot of times he and I have conversations about this, because he resonates, and I know my good friend Ken, we were talking about this too. He resonates too with the ox, and again, recognizing that was developed in them from a very, very young age. I mean, we're talking the culture of the Amish. Both of them are previously Amish, and their faith, culture, religion, and family. And if you,
programming,
I really believe that. So then they are the perfect epitome of, I mean, a perfect definition of what an ox is truly like the Amish culture of just being systematic and doing the little things over and over and over and over, right? That's what an assembly line is. So, anyways, what else?
You're sharing this.
I know I am, but I want to. That was kind of what we talked about in men's call, and we did connect it. There's a lot more connections there. I was sharing on some of my mentorship calls. So what it comes down to is like, it's really interesting, because it's very fascinating, because I do feel like at times there's this battle between the lion and the eagle. Because the eagle says, without a vision, the people will perish. I say she, it could be he too. But even in my own self, I think about this, like how important vision is. Vision is the most important thing, right? And for an eagle, that is very true. Like they're very visionary and seeing the future, and how that's important. They really focus on the vision, and that's good. And then you've got the lion that says, faith, though, your faith, which creates vision, is faith, right? Faith without action is dead. It's like the lines of, you got to have action or it's just dead, okay? Don't matter how much vision you have if you don't have action. So it's really fascinating how the battle of action and faith, or the battle of action and vision, right? And it's real. It's a really fascinating thought, right? And the lion,
that's where you get trapped in the waiting on God.
Yeah, for sure. Or let's just go do it, and there's no faith needed, right? It can be that extreme.
Yeah, the I'm gonna control it.
I'm just gonna go do it.
I'm gonna
do it myself then. That's
all about myself.
I'll just do it. I can do it. I don't need anybody's help. So then the lion, in my cute picture, right? I wrote it in red, even representing like fire. But he's his verse, that's a verse, by the way. Faith without works is dead. Yeah. But action is the works. That's really what it is. Action. And so he's the action king and very confident. So that's the other thing that was really fascinating, is a representation of the 3 C's of connection, that the champion for confidence is definitely the lion, no doubt, right? He doesn't have to know something to be confident in it. He just pretends. And then there's the visionary of the eagle, who is the master of communication, because they have to be able to communicate well the vision, right? And think about it, like, how do I say this? Naturally, women are known to be better communicators than men. That's just, ask any expert. Like, it's just, men have to work at it. It's natural for a woman to be a natural, better communicator. Interesting, right? So again, and again, like, so her understanding, without a vision, the people perish, but the communication of the three C's of connection, that she would be the one that is the more prevalent and more masterful of communication. Now, so then where's the ox come in? These two are competing. I even think because the ox is represented by the old wise father, like, that's really fascinating too, and that has to be taught. What do they say? Again, it's funny how men get men get beat up all the time about this. He ain't got a lick of sense till he's like 35. What do they say about men? So it's like true. It's like that old wise father then finally becomes wise when he's like 35, 40, 45. I'm not there yet. Someday. I am 47, 48 this year, I think.
But you didn't get a lick of sense till you were 40.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Truth.
And so so the ox is the C, the three C's of connection is represented by committed, for sure. And it was so cool. So what the revelation from Papa God last night was just envisioning all these three, but then the thing that was missing in most lives, we got these passionate spiritual eagles and passionate fiery lions. They need the ox. Because he says we're creating his image, all of his images, all three. So recognizing, that's where the balance comes in. And think about it. It's so cool. Like the eagle, the lion have to choose to yoke, and the ox is all about yoking. So the ox is a training and a discipline of being willing to be peaceable and moldable, right? The water, represented by the element of water, shape, and very consistent, faithful. So then this is what's so cool. Committed, being the C that represents the ox, very committed animal. And by the way, it's really interesting when I think about the ox, and when you're trained to be an ox, then you're also very somewhat complacent and slow moving. And that's real life. Like when you study the ox, like the bovine and the bull, like when I want them to move, I slap their butt super hard. They will not move. You literally have to get an electrical prod to get them to actually move a little bit. They're just like, when they don't want to move. So I think about like how good the visionary is to have the eagle to inspire the ox, but then the fire of the lion, to light a fire under the ox. They still all three need each other, is what I'm saying. But the verse for the ox was this: when you're faithful with the little things, you'll be made ruler over much. That is what the ox will teach us. That you gotta be committed. That's what faithful is. This is a faithfulness. This is not faith like the eagle talks about.
Right.
We're talking about faithfulness, which is committed. So it's committed to the little things. You will be made ruler over much, much more. When you have something, the ox teaches us with wisdom. When you have something in your hands, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush all day long. Like, you got it right there in front of you. Use it, utilize it. Go out there, take action, see the vision of what you have, and God will bless it. And that verse comes from Matthew, when it was the talents were given. It's the parable that Jesus talks about, and the talents that were given, and the 2 talents, and he expanded it, he grew it. He had a little bit of talents and grew it. And he said, you've been faithful with little things. Now you're going to be made ruler over much, much more. And that ruler is literally greater, more abundant. So like, that's the principle of the ox, of recognizing the wisdom of focus, the wisdom of commitment, the wisdom of What do I have access to? What are my resources? Let's use those. And when you use those well, you create the principle of being committed. You create the principle of getting results, doing the little things daily that feel monotonous. We had a funny call with the men on this because, man, we got a bunch of lions on there. And we were just talking about how, I mean, Eric and I, especially, we're hosting it now, Eric Slavon. He and I both were just like, and so was Jabel. Jabel's like, I get it. Like we're definitely lions that just wanna, and like, oh, we have to do the little things. We know we do. We recognize the ox and how wise that is. And that's what excellence is, actually. Willing to do the little things over and over and over. That's what excellence is. Getting better at those little things. Execute. Little things. Go. Improve the little things. Improve. Make it better. Excellent. So it was really profound today on the men's call. That's kind of what we were doing. And I was like, oh, talk all about that. My revelation from Papa last night. So the verse was the big revelation.
So you didn't read your book?
A little bit, but it was about excellence. At that point, it was like, matter of fact, it's funny, I'll tell you where we left off last week and then where we started, we literally read, I think, 1 or 2 pages. But where we left off, Eric had sent it to me. And so I read it last week when he was in Alaska. And where I was like, oh, this is how we made it to it. So it was perfect because it fit, which was excellence is not an act, it's a habit. It's a habit. And it has to be trained, just like the ox. So then that will like spur me into the whole conversation and talk about the ox with the men.
That's good.
And it was a good revelation. And you're going to be made ruler over much if you're willing to do the little things. A lot of people don't want to do those little things. And they'll just keep, spinning their wheels here and there with eagle stuff, and they'll get results with lion stuff. Hey, lions get results. I speak from experience. But when you combine it with the ox disciplines.
Well, and I think the other thing is recognizing when I envision a lion and a lion's action, it's powerful in spurts. It's powerful in spurts. The lion doesn't actually retain a whole lot of stamina, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about stamina and like what that looks like in a long-term goal, it requires the ox.
Yeah.
Right. So both the vision of seeing, where you want to go, you incorporate the lion with the action and the spurts.
Yeah.
But it definitely requires the diligence and persistence of the ox, the consistency, right?
Absolutely.
And the commitment.
So good.
Because a lion can get squirreled real easy. And actually, an eagle can too.
Yeah.
So,
spiritual wind blows the eagle, and
so
it's real.
But if you have an ox on a pursuit, and if you really put the focus in that ox, in that discipline and consistent movement towards a trajectory, right? You're gonna be far more successful incorporating that.
Yes, so good. It's such a cool thing. Because even if I think about the oxes, they've got these little hooves. Taking these little steps. Like the lion does these leaps and runs fast.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's fun stuff to learn this stuff and to then recognize it and see it. And even we're starting to identify more and more, even like the languaging. Like the languaging of the lion is really powerful. The challenge, the hurrah, the motivation, right? The inspiration, the communication of the eagle is more of like the vision, the spiritual, the feelings, the emotions, the really inspired type
prophetic
talk. Yes, the prophetic, absolutely. And what God's doing, and this is such a God thing, And it's interesting when I was recognizing I have a lot of eagle in me, like the eagle lion is like off the charts. And part of that I was thinking about, I was like, oh, well, I was raised by a woman, by my mom, which would have really highly influenced that too as well. And she is an awesome visionary too. So it was interesting. And then I realized there's a lot of lion in you, lioness, that helped to bring it out in me too, because my lion had been suppressed. So I know a lot of you are like thinking about this. So I'm not a lion, I'm an ox. I've heard that. And I get it, you're right. But again, I had been trained up myself too in the ox and understanding discipline, how important it is to stay focused. And then the lion would come out and get me all distracted.
Well, I mean, that's the most important part about understanding the four phases is understanding the balance and tapping into it, right? Tapping into the strengths in whatever scenario or situation that
Yep.
we have in front of us. I mean, that's the beauty. Like, we're not meant to be put in a box or only, you know what I mean, have like operate from one face.
Right.
We're meant to embrace all of them
Yeah.
and tap into the gifts and the strengths and the talents of each of them.
Yeah. So then how did the women's call go?
So it
And
was
your
good.
calls today. You had a lot of mentorships today too.
Yeah, the theme that kind of came out today was guilt and shame.
Okay.
And how much of that is self-imposed.
Wow. Okay.
So self-imposed guilt and shame, and recognizing that sometimes like our behavior is really a result of self-sabotage, right? Because of that old story and that old belief that believes that we need to be punished, that we need to that we're not worthy of the new story, right? And so it was definitely recognizing the guilt and the shame and why we do that to ourselves and that we don't have to. And also that the best way to shift it is to flip the script and see through a new lens, right? See through a different lens and
new story, huh?
Create a new story and to be able to communicate with those around us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Recognizing that we have the power. It's like I'm responsible for my mind and the story that I play, and therefore I'm responsible for what I create. You know, the other people around us,
wow,
subconsciously affirm and confirm our story, right? So whatever we're spiraling in, we get more of.
It's really good.
So
and
yeah,
that ties into, because again, some of you may not know that we are currently we go through the content as well, just like you, and we're currently in week 3. So this is week 3, session 1, which is about triggers to triumph, which is exactly kind of it's interesting that then took on the theme because it was good. I have some notes from mine today. I took notes because Chantel brings out some good stuff from that when we did it. It's like interesting to watch yourself because it is us doing it, but it's a great reminder because that question that we keep talking about even more and more that we make it's like that focal question that really hits to the core. What is your belief and why about that situation? There's a belief tied to it or there wouldn't be an action there, right? Because every action shows your belief system. So
and that question is amazing in just communication with those we love, right? If somebody says something, it's like, okay, so what is your belief about that and why? It helps me to gain understanding of where they're coming from versus taking offense, right? Starting my own rhetoric that is playing in my head, right? Because we do that. I mean, it's unnecessary.
And I think too, there was something else that I was really honing in on today, listening that I was like, man, something that we said in that's why it's so weird to go like, we said this, but it reminded me of how powerful it is. Like if you're talking to someone, one of the things what's like an emotion comes up or there's sudden change in behavior. You said that in the training. I was like, wow, that's so true. Like someone would be like, hey, how's it going? And all of a sudden, like, I mean, it's like all of a sudden this sudden change in emotion and behavior. You're like, ooh, dang, that's a good tale that they're probably triggered. That's something you said potentially or someone else said. And for me, Chantel says, I get that. Like this. That's
Just-
close.
You can't do it with a hat on. It's holding. It's like just no.
You say I crinkle the
You
center or something.
do. But you can't do it.
I can't do it on purpose.
Demand.
I know it's usually when I get, now I'm telling you my tale, you guys are gonna be looking for it at events. You're like, I see that on Carlos's eyebrow. I think I see it there. You're gonna be like, he's triggered. But it is a tale. You'll learn about people. And I get this really like, anyway, she describes it well. But I'm aware of it now because she's helped me with it. But it's interesting, right? That a sudden change, then that's a good indicator that someone's probably triggered, which helps us as people that are around others. It's like, oh my goodness, they were just like happy and smiling. All of a sudden, they went to like this change in emotion. They probably got triggered somehow. So it's interesting. And then the other thing was new questions. You find yourself being stuck in the same questions. That really stood out to me today. That you can tell you're in the same story if you're asking like the same questions to confirm your story that you're stuck in. And like also getting others to confirm it with you, and one-upping with someone and staying stuck with someone else one-upping you with your misery and their misery. And that was really cool because if we have a new story, then we'll create new questions and we're willing to ask new questions or ask for help. That's pretty cool. It was really cool for me to get that.
Yep.
And to see it even in the midst of. So we're doing it just like you, going through it. We keep learning too. If you're willing, you always will learn. So I love. So any other big nuggets before we close out from the day?
I mean, that was mainly a theme. And I think just recognize the freedom. I create my freedom too, right? I don't have to be controlled by other people or even like my goals, because I think that's even how it came up, right? Like if we're working towards a goal and 1 week our focus gets shifted to another process that we're working through, right? Do we add guilt and shame on ourselves because we're not being consistent with this goal? But what is the value of this? And are we still moving forward? Right.
Progression.
So if it's still forward motion and progression and it's beneficial for us, like be free, right? We don't have to enter into the shame and guilt because we're not being consistent with one trajectory, but we're actually like it was just really powerful to bring freedom in forward motion, in good progression. Really even good. If it doesn't look like what we're working on right now, if it comes up because it comes up, is that okay? Yeah. Yes, it's okay.
Super true.
Right? Because we're human. We're emotional beings. We are, learning and growing and healing. So if our emotional healing takes priority over, say, a fitness goal, it's good. Right?
It's true. It's a good point, man. It's pretty good. Yep. Well, I think one of the things in closing with the ox, going back to that, in one of my mentorships today, we broke it down to the little things. It was super cool. It was super cool to create a target, a financial goal for this business owner, and then break it down to what it would look like, the little things done well every day that would create that goal. And that was the ox. Like it was like the revelation of the ox of how important the little things are. And then break it down to simplify it too as well, and create a simplified target of Okay, I'm going to make some calls, but I know what I'm going after. I'm going after this many. I've got in this particular situation, it was like we needed 16 because we broke it down and did the numbers and figured out we needed 16 appointments booked. Well, they already had 8 to reach their target. They need 16. We're like, you're already halfway there. Super cool. So now we make these calls to go find 8 more booked appointments to reach that financial target because of breaking it down, looking at it on the micro versus the macro. Right. So it's really cool. And it was like thinking about the ox and how the diligence of the ox doing the daily little things that will make the big difference. So fun stuff. Lots of cool breakthroughs and lots of great information. All right. Well, cheers. And cheers to you for joining us tonight. See you next week.
Good night.
Good night.